In today's session, we will look at materials management, also known as procurement or purchasing. We'll have a look at the key organizational structures that MM uses, the interrelationships with other org structures from SD, sales and distribution, and accounting. We'll also have a look at key master data elements and how to configure settings for the org structure as well as for the master data. One of the key org units in MM is the purchasing organization. This org unit within logistics subdivides a company according to the requirements of purchasing. A purchasing organization procures materials or services, negotiates conditions of purchase with vendors, and assumes responsibility for such business. A purchasing organization can be assigned to a company code. However, this assignment is not mandatory. Also, in addition, it must be assigned to all the plants for which it is active. Once you have assigned the purchasing org to a company code, you can assign it only to those plants that belong to that company code. Therefore, as a rule, the central purchasing department or purchasing organization of a corporate group is not assigned to a company code. In the standard system, all the conditions that exist in the system are entered with reference to a purchasing organization. The purchasing group, as shown here, is internally responsible for the procurement of a material or a class of materials, and externally it usually supplies the contact person for vendors. However, you need to note that a purchasing group is assigned neither to a purchase org nor to a plant. A purchasing group can thus be active for all purchasing organizations and all plants if no authorization restrictions are applied. The figure shows the key org units in MM and their interrelationships. At the top, you have the company code, which is the smallest organizational unit in external accounting, for which a complete self-contained bookkeeping system must be replicated. Then you have the purchasing organizations that we've already discussed. In this slide, the purchase orgs are assigned to a company code and hence can only service plants that belong to that company code. Then you have the plants. The plant is an org unit within logistics that subdivides the enterprise for the purpose of production, procurement, maintenance, and material planning. In a plant, materials are produced and goods and services are made available. The plant is an operational unit or branch in a company. Plants in turn may be subdivided into one or more storage locations. The storage location in the plant is the level at which materials of a plant are physically managed. Also, the physical inventory takes place at storage location level. The storage location key has to be unique within a plant. So for example, you can see here that the key 0001 is repeated, but within a plant you cannot have more than one 0001 storage location keys. The valuation area is an org unit within logistics that subdivides an enterprise for the purpose of uniform and complete valuation of material stock. You define the valuation area by specifying the level at which stocks of materials are to be valuated. This specification applies for the entire client. Option 1. Valuation area equals company code. The valuation data of a material is created for each company code. Price control and the price of a material apply per company code. The material is thus valuated uniformly in all the plants belonging to a specific company code. Option 2. Valuation area equals plant. The valuation data of a material is created for each plant. Price control and the price of a material apply per plant. The same material can thus be valuated differently in different plants. In a production system, the valuation area cannot simply be switched from plant to a company code or vice versa. In such a case, it is necessary for existing data to be converted. The valuation level plant is mandatory for production planning, PP, and for product costing. And the training systems that is used in this presentation uses the valuation level plant. So let us now log into the system and see how we set up some of this org data and org structures. So this is my system, ECC. I'm user 22. We need to now go to customizing. So this is my standard user menu for mainly for transactions. And to go to customizing, I use the transaction SPRO, enter. And then I go to enterprise structure, definition, logistics, and this is where I define the valuation level. So then I execute and I see that my valuation level is already set at the plant, and I get a message here saying cannot be changed. Once you set up the SAP system, that's when you choose the valuation level, and to change it you need to reorganize the data. And some helpful inputs here: when you press this short text button, the system will tell you all about setting up the valuation level and how you might change it if you wish to. So then we go to the next node, which is creating a plant or changing or deleting a plant. So we will create a new plant, define a plant. Instead of defining a brand new plant, you can simply copy it from a pre-existing one. So let's just define a brand new plant for now. So my plant is going to be training 22 because 22 is my user ID. So I call my plant test plant 22, and then I need to enter my country, which is a mandatory entry, but you see the country key is grayed out. So even if I try to select a country, I will not be able to. So let me try it first. System does nothing. The address is entered using this address tab, and this is where I enter my plant address. So my plant belongs to a company, test plant 22. I could enter another name here, and this is where I actually enter the country. So my country is DE. I can simply write it. And then I just enter. System asks me for a customizing request, which is required if you want to promote these changes to a test or a production system. And my data is saved. So I've created a new plant, and that was fairly straightforward. Now let's create some storage locations for this plant. So I go to enterprise structure, definition, and I need to go to material management, maintain storage locations. So the system asks me which plant I want to maintain these, and I enter tier 22. So currently there are no storage locations defined for this plant, and I just create a new entry. 0001, this plant 22. And I can give the address for the storage location as well, but that's not mandatory. Now you see this storage location 0001 also exists in some other plants. So if we just go back, and I select one of the standard plants, number 1000, I see that my storage location with the same number 0001 exists, and that's because, as we saw earlier, the storage location has to be unique within a plant, but across the plants you can have the same key representing a storage location. And now I'm going to assign this newly created plant to a company code. So this was my definition node and this is my assignment node. So I go to assignment, logistics general, assign plant to a company code. And from this activity, IMG activity documentation, you can get some help and inputs if you're not clear what is supposed to be done. So here what I do is I simply take an existing entry and just copy it, thereby saving you data entry time. So my company code that I want to assign it to is a standard company in the training system, which is 1000, and my plant is TR22, and I just save. System asks for a change request, and that's done. I get the message, data was saved. So now I've assigned my plant to a company code. Now I want to assign two different purchasing organizations to my plant. One organization, which is 1000, is going to be plant specific, and the other one is a central purchasing organization responsible for purchasing across multiple plants. So to do that, under assignment, I go to material management, assign purchasing organization to a plant. And here again, I just copy an existing entry. My purchasing organization that I want to assign is 1000 and my plant is TR22. So that's one entry copied and saved. And now again, I go back and repeat the process, and this time my purchasing organization is a central one, C100. And I assign it to TR22 and save. So now I've assigned two purchasing organizations to my new plant. So this figure shows how the organization structure of material management interacts with the org structure of sales and distribution. So purchasing organizations can be assigned to a company code, as we discussed earlier. However, you can also work with purchasing organizations that are not assigned to any company code. And that is why you have a dotted line here. In contrast, sales organizations can be responsible for one or more plants and must always be assigned to one company code. The valuation level can be a single plant, or it can encompass all the plants of a company code. This is how the org structure of materials management interacts with the org structure of accounting. Controlling areas are defined in controlling module. Several company codes that use the same chart of accounts can be assigned to a single controlling area. So as you can see here, these two companies, 2000 and 3000, belong to one controlling area, 2000. And here, company 1000 belongs to one controlling area, so there's a one-to-one relationship here. And valuation can be at the plant or at the company code level. For product costing and production planning, the existence of a separate valuation area for each plant is mandatory. Value-based inventory management of materials always takes place at the level of the valuation area. The material master is a central data object in the SAP system, and a large part of MM, which is materials management, is involved with setting up and transacting with the material master. A material has several views: purchasing, basic data, MRP, etc., also called maintenance status. So the maintenance status, or a view of a material, is a key showing which user departments have already maintained the material master record. You can use a material in the individual logistics functions only if the material has certain maintenance statuses or views maintained. For example, a valuated material that you wish to purchase for receipt into stock, for example, must have at least the maintenance statuses E, which stands for purchasing, and B, which stands for accounting. Let us have a quick look at the system to see what a material master looks like. So you go to logistics, materials management, material master, material, and let's try to go to the change mode. MM02 is the transaction. And when I try to change it, the system asks me for which view do I want to change. So as you can see, there are quite a few views, and we can select them all. And now we need to give the relevant organizational level for which we want to maintain the specific view. So we can just select, the system will show up the relevant org levels for which the data is relevant, and I enter. I go to basic data 1, 2, classification, and here this list shows me all the different views that are available for a material. So if I go to basic data 2 view, for example, and here I go to this DG indicator profile, which is the dangerous goods indicator profile, and my environmentally relevant indicator. Now if I want to find out more information, I press F1 on my keyboard, and it brings up this screen that tells me what is this indicator and how is it used. And over here, if I go to technical information, this will tell me that my screen number is 2010, and this is the program, the status, the table, and so on. Now all this is configurable. You can adjust the material master and its maintenance to suit the particular needs of your company, and the following options are available. You can specify structure of the data screens. A data screen is composed of several individual subscreens. You can remove any subscreen that you do not need from a data screen. Then you can assign secondary screens and link together different screens in a screen sequence. A screen sequence is a series of individual data screens that follow each other. Data screens are subdivided into main and additional screens. For example, you can create your own screen sequence for your various user groups. And you can also specify user settings for the maintenance of material master records, wherein you specify for the individual end users that a certain industry is to appear as the default value, for example. Depending on the user and the screen sequence, you can also assign default values for the views selected in the view selection dialog box and for the organizational levels. So now we go back to the system. This is where the material master was. I use /n transaction, which takes me back to the original screen, from where I can go to SPR0. I could have directly done /n and then SPRO, and in one step I could have gone from wherever I am and I was in the material master, for example, directly here in customizing. So I go to customizing now, and to maintain the material master I need to go to logistics, general, material master, configuring the material master. And here SAP has provided a full example end-to-end on how you make different changes, customizing changes to the material master. So here's the quick guide example if you are new to this, which will tell you exactly what you need to do to tailor the screens as per the needs of your department. And this is where you assign the screen sequence to a specific user material combination or transaction industry sector, etc. So we take a quick look here, and this is what it looks like. So we won't make any changes in this for now, but just to understand that this is where the material master can be configured. The next important master data element from a materials management perspective is the vendor master. These are some of the key settings that you would need to do for the vendor master record. And the most important setting is the account groups for vendors. The account group represents a collection of attributes that control the creation of master records. In the SAP system, there are account groups for the vendor master, for example, but also for the customer master and the GL account master. Among other things, the account group determines which data is relevant to the master record and the number range from which numbers for the master records are to be taken. You can use different settings for the number assignment for each account group to ensure, for example, that different business partners in the system are managed in different number ranges. The relevant customizing settings for the vendor master records also include the settings for partner determination, because different partner roles can already be stored in the vendor master record. So now we go back to customizing and see how some of these customizing settings for the vendor master record are done. So we go to logistics general, business partners, vendors, control, and define account group. So what we are going to do is to define a brand new account group and then create a new vendor master record for that account group. So we have an existing account group for training, vendor training, SAP MM. We simply copy this and we call it ZT99, vendor training 99. And I will just change this partner determination settings to existing settings in the system. So I get the message that the entry already exists, ZT99, so let's call it ZT33. So it is now copied. ZT33 is my new account group for a vendor master record. Now I need to go back, first save this, and then check whether the number assignment for this has been copied as well. So if I go to number range for my account group, which is ZT33, and I see that there is no number range here, and that is because I copied this from SAP MM, which doesn't have a number range either. so it didn't copy any number range. Now I want the number range to be external so that I can assign my own vendor name to the new master record that I create. So the system already has a number range XX, which is alphanumeric and external. So I simply assign that. And if I want to check whether XX exists, I can do it here. And this is external number range, which has already been defined in the system. So I go back, and now I need to ensure that the partner role VN, which is a standard vendor, is assigned to my account group, so that when I create the new vendor master record, it has the right partner role and the right account settings. So for that, I need to go to materials management. I will close this menu and go to materials management, purchasing, and I'm looking for partner determination, which is right at the bottom here. In case the menu items are too long and you have trouble finding out the right node, you can use this search functionality here, and this will tell you where all in the hierarchy partner determination exists, and then depending on your area, you choose the right node and you can get here quickly. Go to partner roles and define permissible partner roles per account group. So I just take an existing one. Function I'm looking for is a standard one, VN, which is standard vendor, and my group is ZT33. I get a message, a warning message from the system that I should use number ranges which are in the customer namespace, namely beginning with Z or a Y. But that's alright because I'm using something that is pre-existing in the SAP system created by SAP. And now my data is saved. Now let's go back and try to create a brand new vendor master record with this data. So I go to logistics, material management, purchasing, master data, vendor record, and create. So my account group is ZT33 and my name is external. I get the error message that the account number is incorrect. Account number is longer than 10 characters. Blanks are not permitted anyways in SAP. So where do we get this 10 characters from? If I go back to customizing, we had this number range definition, and we had given XX as the number range. Now if you see, from 2, and this is 10 Z's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, which basically means that anything I assign as the vendor has to be less than test characters, so less than 10 characters. So it's vendor 33, and this is where I fill in the information. Now these fields, the ones that are marked with a tick mark, are mandatory. And please note here the communication options that we have. Now we will leave this screen open, vendor 33, and we'll go back and change some of the customizing settings and see what effect that has on the master data creation. So we go back to account group definition. We go back to the new account group that we created, ZT33, and then to general data, and then to communication, just double click. And we see that these two fields, email address and mobile telephone, are suppressed, so not visible. As you can see, there is no email address and no mobile telephone. Now we will make these as optional entries. Save. Data has been saved. And now we go back and try to create another vendor master record. Purchasing central, create, and let's call it vendor 33 new. And for new, press enter and we get the same mandatory fields, but as we scroll down, we see that this email line has appeared and this mobile phone. And this is how customizing affects the master data creation. Hope you enjoyed this session. See you again soon.